Hi guys, today's Make With Me video is going to be on the Sophie Scarf. Now, this is a very popular pattern that is all over the place at the moment. I really love it. I've made a few Sophie Scarves already and it's just one of those really great beginner-friendly patterns. However, if you're more of a visual person like me, I like to see how something comes together rather than just reading a pattern. So I wanted to make a video that was kind of like a visual guide that you could watch alongside the pattern, just because there are a lot of even though it's beginner friendly, there are a lot of finicky, tricky little details that can be hard to get your head around. So the Sophie scarf is this long scarf that gets slightly wider and forms a bit of a triangle before it decreases again, and it's got a really lovely I-cord edge along the side of it as well. The great thing about the Sophie scarf is you can modify it to use any yarn, needle, and be any length you like whatsoever. I like modifying my Sophie scarves. In terms of this one, I have actually followed the pattern mostly with the yarn. So this is a Cardiff Cashmere Classic and it is what the pattern recommends. It's 25 grams and about 112 meters. So this does match up with the pattern. In terms of needles, the pattern does recommend 3.5mm needles, but I went ahead and used my 4mm circular needles, and I've used mini ones just because they're a little more comfortable to use and a little bit more travel friendly and compact. The widest point of your Sophie scarf is about this big, so it kind of matches up with that. So I just found my 4mm mini ones to work perfectly fine. So you can see the texture that the 4mm gives you with this yarn. If you're wanting more of a tighter gauge, drop down a needle size, but I like a 4mm. I like sort of seeing a little bit of texture. One thing that I absolutely recommend with your Sophie scarf is to weigh your ball of yarn at the start of your project and throughout. Because the scarf is knitted to a middle point, you need to know where your halfway mark is, and especially if you have one ball of yarn, you want to make sure that you are not at risk of running out. So for example, this ball is 25 grams, so half of that is about 12. So I would knit until I felt like I was halfway. I would weigh whatever is remaining on my ball, and if it was above 12 but close, like 13, I knew that I was reaching my halfway mark in my yarn, and that's when I knew it was time to decrease. So definitely keep track of how much your remaining ball of yarn weighs and make sure you don't dip below that halfway point when you start your decreases. All right, we're going to start by casting on. We're going to tie a little loop like that. Onto our needle. And then we're going to cast on 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got our 6 stitches, and then I'm going to tie a knot here just so that is extra secure. There we go. And then we're going to do our first row. Tension it out. So we'll knit our first 3 stitches and then we'll slip the next 3. So I've knitted my first 3 stitches. Switch your yarn to be in front and then slip those 3 stitches, and then you'll turn your work. And do the same thing again. Knit your first 3, slip your next 3 with the yarn in front. Just like that. And we want to do that for 7 rows because we will increase on our 8th row. So we've done 2 rows, we'll do this for 5 more rows until we hit 7. Okay, I've just done my 7th row. This is what it looks like now after 7 rows of that. Now that we're up to our 8th row, we will start our increases. So we'll increase by 1 stitch every 8 rows. And to start that, we knit the first 2 stitches as normal. 1,
2. Our third stitch, we'll start it as normal, but don't knock the stitch off your needle just yet. Instead, you want to twist your hands like that and knit through the same stitch but through the back. Twist your yarn around, bring it through the loop, and then pull your stitches off. So you've just gone from 2 stitches to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how we've increased by 1 stitch. And because we've got 3 stitches left on our needle, we will slip those now. So we'll move our yarn in front, slip those 3, and that is your 8th row complete. So we'll repeat those steps from the beginning. You'll knit up until you've got 3 left, slip those, rotate. You'll do that for 7 rows, and then you'll increase your 8th row again.
I've just reached halfway. So here is my knitting progress update. We are now ready to start our decreases, which are always easy. Decreasing, it'll go quicker now because like you're decreasing and you're knitting less. Yeah, so now we're ready to start our decreases. So let's do that. So with your decreases, I'll give an example of how to do a decrease. But in terms of when you decrease, it's exactly the same as when you do your increases. So you'll do 7 rows, and then on your 8th row is when you do your decrease. So it's exactly the same as what your increases were, it's just the opposite. So I just finished my last increase row where I increased on my 8th row. So now I'm going to do rows 1 through 7 as per normal again, and then on that 8th row I'll do my first decrease, and then from there I'll knit 7 normal, on my 8th I'll decrease. So exactly the same as before, just like in reverse, and we'll do that all the way until we get back down to 6 stitches on our needle again.
So tension your yarn. I knit continental, so it's on my left hand, and what we're going to do first is knit our first 3 stitches as per normal so that we keep our I-cord edge nice and clean. So we'll knit our first 3 stitches, and for our 4th stitch we'll slip that onto our right needle without doing anything, and then we will knit the next stitch like so, and then you want to go back to that stitch that we slipped, scoop it up and pull it over the one we just stitched like that, and that decreases our stitches by 1. And then you will knit the rest of your row as per normal.
Seem like your usual type. What's my usual type? Oh, I don't know. Someone a little less, whatever that is.
So now I'm up to my last set of decreases before I have 6 stitches left. So I currently have 7. So I've got 1 more set of decreases to do, but because it's our last set, we're going to do it slightly differently. So what we'll do is we will knit the first 2 as normal, and then we'll slip the 3rd stitch this time rather than the 4th, and then we will knit the next stitch, and then we'll slip that 3rd stitch over. So you're doing the same as a normal decrease, but just a stitch earlier than usual. And then as normal, we'll move our yarn to the front, slip the next 3, and now we have 6 stitches left on our needle. So now we're very close to being done. We're going to rotate. We're going to do the same thing that we did at the start, which is to knit your first 3, move your yarn in front, slip your next 3, and keep doing that until you've done a full set, which is 8 rows. Our last step is to bind off once we've come to the end of our scarf. Binding off is super easy. All we'll do is knit our first 2 and then go back to the previous stitch, bring it over the one we've just done, and then do your next stitch, bring your previous one over. So we're basically just closing as we go, like so. Last one, binding that over, and then you've got that last one, this last loop left. I like to make that loop quite big, and then I get some of that thread, and then with that thread we'll cut it, and you can remove your needles now, we don't need them. And with that loop you'll feed the thread through like that, and then just tie a knot like that. And then with the darning needle we will weave in this end. So like so, and then this I-cord binding that we've made is actually hollow, so we can actually thread our need that extra yarn down this hollow, through here, just like that. You want to give it all a good tug, and that's how you finish the end of your Sophie scarf. I haven't yet weaved in the start of my scarf as well, so I'm going to do that now too. So I like to weave in my ends all at the end. Ta-da! Okay, so now I've weaved in both ends of my scarf and it's done. It's complete.
Okay, here's the finished Sophie scarf. Super soft. I love how this colour turned out. In terms of how you wear it, there's a couple of ways you can wear her. I like to go middle at the front with the point going downwards, and then I put that to my neck and I wrap it around the back, and then I tie it like that, and then I just sort of fold it and finesse it until she's sitting nicely. So you can wear it like that, or you can also opt to just tie her around once. So go through the back there and tie her loosely here if you want it to be more of an accessory like that. And then I've also seen girls wear it as like a bit of a hair tie as well, which is kind of cute. You could probably also wear it as a headband as well. So it's very versatile. There's a lot of things that you can do with this scarf. I pretty much wear a Sophie scarf every day now. It's just such a good layering piece. I love wearing this instead of a big chunky scarf because sometimes those can get in the way and a little bit overwhelming. So I love my Sophie scarf because it's just a little layering piece, a little bit of an accessory. Okay guys, that's it. As you can see, I've got her on. She's gorgeous, she's warm, she's snug. So that's how you make the Sophie scarf. I hope that video helped. I hope it served as a bit of a visual guide for you to watch alongside following the pattern. I hope you like this video. Let me know if you do. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.